So I'm rebuilding the Angular Confinement pattern for the Copperplate Script 2nd edition, and adding in some really fun and interesting things which I really want to share with you. So this is the new Angular Confinement pattern, which I'm very excited about. And as you can see, it's a whole sort of system. And on this test page, I've added in the balancing serifs. So I'm going to, over the coming days, you'll see some of these different letters being tested out and trialed, because I've also added a slightly wider version to some of the letters. So I'm very, very excited. So let's have a quick look at how this works. So you can see the pattern here. I'm going to do the balancing serif first. Just zoom in a little bit there. So this can be added to the A, it can be added to the H, to the K, and obviously to the M and the N. And you can see there's another balancing serif there, which is really quite exciting. So let's go through these letters. Zoom out a little bit. There. So I'm aiming for the third. And over and back and down and out. So one of the great things about this size grid is, as I'm going to rule up to work on some kitchen roll, I put the lining template onto it, and it matches the lining template cuts, which I'm very, very excited about. So sorry about the bits of zooming in and out, but I really want you to see how I do this. So this is Viva Kitchen Roll, which is brilliant, but you cannot get it. You can get it in the US, but it's very hard to get it in other places. So that's the roll there. You can pull it out this way. I turn it over so you see the inside of it, and I hold it flat. And once it's past the perforations by about 5 centimeters, about an inch, 2.5 centimeters, you press and you pull this, not this. Don't pull the sheet, you pull the roll. So I'll put the roll down and I will rest the lining template. So the thing that I'm doing is I'm lining up the cuts to the edges of the sheet, and then I'm lining up the top of the template to the top of the sheet. So I really only want to put this down once rather than having to pick it up a lot. So I'm going to use a Derwent Inktense pencil, and I found that I need to work inside the middle of the bar. And I'm going to do every other one, which the lining template has a cut at every other one. So it actually helps me to line these up. And I'm going to take my own advice and skip an entire X height so that I have space to look at the letters a little bit better. I'm going to lift that, and I'm going to line up the 55T to the top of the page. So I kind of want that much. I don't really need it up here or down here. I can do it if I want to, and so can you, but this allows me to, so that's nice and aligned. So I'm only using the middle. Every other cut, if you feel you really want to add more, you can quite easily move the cuts up and then move this back down, and they line up quite nicely. So there's the sheet that I'm going to use, and I'm going to mimic what I've done here. Not enough hands. So I have that. I'll put this underneath myself so I can see what I'm doing. But I found that you really do need a clipboard to help you with this, otherwise it has a tendency to move whilst you're trying to write. And you need a piece of paper underneath it, because sometimes the marker will bleed through the Viva paper. So I'm just using some regular copy paper. And that also helps to make it a lot brighter so that you could see what you're doing. So that gives me space to start down here. So, I'm obviously going to skip those lines. And I'm going to use the Kuretake Cambio markers for this, because I really love the colors. I'll start with the vermilion because I really, really love this color. Let's zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to put this underneath my hand, like so I can reference it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this balancing serif. Now, I'm just going to pull this taut a little bit at the bottom so that the sheet is nice and tight. And some of the things I'm looking at here, let's just zoom up just a little bit. Some of the things I'm looking at here are how this works within the context of the grid. So you can see when I apply the Angular Confinement pattern to this, it really sits within that confinement pattern as it does down here. One of the things I've been working really hard to figure out is, where is this ball serif? So usually the letter finishes and you end up with a ball on the end, like so. Well, obviously this is an upstroke, so you come in and you start there and you continue along, but I've standardized this to a very specific place on the grid so that it all starts in the same place. So if we drop down to the F, you can see it's in the same place on the A, the same place on the H and the I the K, the M, and the N. There are other aspects of this, so it's really quite fascinating to see how this fits into the structure of the script. And you can see again the B and the A, that ball serif starts roughly in the same place. Well, it starts in the same place. Once you start writing off the grid, you have a little bit of give. This is a little bit narrow because I'm doing it with a pencil and this is a brush. So there is a wider grid that I figured out for some of these letters when they're working with brush pens as opposed to nibs. So I'm really excited to share this with you because there are so many new developments that the second edition will have. I'm kind of grappling with whether or not I need to redo all of the writing because of this amount of new information. But the plus side of it is I am working on a workbook handout using the Angular Confinement pattern, this new updated pattern. And it will have a free course attached to it once you purchase the workbook. So you will see this over the coming weeks as I sort of get through these letters, and I'll let you know when that workbook is going to be ready. So good luck copperplating.